For those of you who may not be familiar with me, my name is Marisa Oliva. I've been here in the Rio Grande Valley since 2001, and I worked at Benson State Park for a few years, and then I moved over to the Edinburg Scenic Wetlands and World Birding Center and ran that center for many years. And recently I became the Health and Nature Liaison for the Texas Children in Nature Network. I actually, prior to this, while I was managing Edinburg Birding Center, was actually the regional chair. It's a volunteer position, and all the state areas, all the regions of the state have this position, and I served on that here, and then joined as a staff person. And so I get to do what I loved to do before, which is I network with all of our different organizations down here in the valley. But this time, not only is it with nature organizations, it's also with our health partners. And we're bringing everybody to the table for the one goal of getting children and their families outside, connected to nature. Not only because we want them to be like us, appreciating the natural world because we know how beneficial that is, but also for their health. And I'll talk a little bit about that during our presentation. So just a little history about Texas Children Nature Network. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Richard Louve's book, Last Child in the Woods. Because of that book, there was a movement started, and that movement is called the Children and Nature Network. It's a national organization and involved many different state and federal organizations, as well as nonprofit partners and Parks and Wildlife. I'm sorry, Texas. Actually, at the state legislature took this on as an initiative as well, and basically tasked Parks and Wildlife and the Texas Education Association to create this network, local network, Texas Children Nature Network, in order to deal with this issue and actually house it for 10 years within Texas Parks and Wildlife. And not only was it with those agencies, but it also worked with the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as a number of other state agencies. After the 10-year period, it's become its own nonprofit, and that happened in 2021. And they are still working with all of those different organizations to address the concerns of our children not being outside and therefore not moving their bodies and not getting that exercise and some of those life skills that help them grow into healthy adults. Sorry. So for the vision of Texas Children Nature Network is that we envision that all children and their families from all walks of life will spend more time outdoors, engaged with nature for healthier, happier, and smarter Texans. And why? And you guys are part of this, so you know, we know the reasons, but just to illustrate, there's a lot of research out there. In fact, if any of you are interested in like talking, you know, or you're meeting with any politicians or looking for funding, want to support projects you're working on, there's a ton of research that's being done, and it has been done. And if you go to the CCN page, the Children in Nature Network page, you'll find a whole host of research that's being done on this issue that's listed there, and also publications that you can use to show statistics and research and support. But these are the things that the studies have found, that spending time outdoors helps children become healthier physically and mentally. They do better in school. Right now, there is a problem with our recess here in the valley. It's statewide, but definitely we're having it here. And our children are suffering because they're not getting that break during the school day. And so there's a couple organizations working on that very issue right now. Let's see. So they do better when they have that break. They have higher self-esteem. They have good self-discipline. They're more capable and confident in themselves and their abilities. They're better problem solvers. They're more cooperative with others, are more creative, feel connected to nature, and are tomorrow's conservation leaders. And if you guys can think of how, you know, I may look a little young, but I'm not young anymore, but I'm in my late 40s. you know, and I would say anybody my generation and older, we spent a lot of time outdoors. We didn't have the video games at our disposal. I have my own kids, and getting them off those devices is so hard. And we spent time outside. We, you know, whatever walk of life we came from, we didn't walk always on even ground, right? We actually, you know, we had some risk involved in our play. We had to learn to play with others outside. We had to like do more problem solving, and the kids are doing some of that, but a lot of it is very structured, right? And it's on video games. They're not using their bodies when they're doing that. They're thinking with the paths they're leading, and so that's some of the disconnect that we're seeing, and there's a lot of research supporting that. So TCIN is in lots of regions around the state. Right now, they're in 8 collaborative regions, and TSAN is a collaborative network. That is a nature organization. We don't really have a product. We are there to bring organizations together to the table to work on shared issues around getting kids outdoors. And so right now, of these 8 regions, there is only 5 staff, the director, and then she has a person who does work on conferences. And then there's 3 of us that I'll talk about later that are health and nature liaisons. And these are staff positions that came in through funding through the Department of Health specifically to look at these regions that were a little disparate, I should say, and definitely had, you know, some issues. And so we're looking at the Fort Worth region, Houston region, Rio Grande region as areas where we needed to have special focus of getting kids outside. And so I'm one of those health and nature liaisons for our area, and I cover the 4 counties here in the valley. And TSN itself has a pretty big strategic plan. It all revolves around equity, but it involves many of these different issues. So it touches on, of course, health, education, access to nature and the outdoors, community relationships, networking, policies, changing policies, and marketing, of course, so people understand where things are, what resources are available. I'm sorry, can you guys hear just me, or do you hear a side noise? Because my husband's outside. Can you hear anything? Are you guys okay with hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you. That's fine.
Okay, you don't hear anything? Okay, because I'm about to yell at my hubby. Okay, well, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so glad you could just hear me. So these are some of the healthy nature interventions. TSAN has many different strategies that they are looking at, but these are some of the ones that we're exploring down here as well as some others, and I'll talk about them. But these are some of the big strategies that they're involved with. One is called Ole Texas. Ole Texas is a statewide initiative that's led by the Department of Health and Human Services that to increase outdoor learning spaces in early child care centers. They've developed 12 best practices. They're working on policies to increase time outdoors during the school day. In fact, daycare centers are supposed to provide at least 1 hour a day of outdoor time. And I believe that's increasing. And then they also, you know, have other, programs are working on, including gardens. There's, especially in Dallas, what they're looking at is food inequity. And so having raised garden beds is especially available for young children. There's also a child-friendly plant. TSAM provides webinars, which is why that's listed here, about these different things. But one of the things that they've worked on, and we've actually worked on down here, is a child-friendly plant list, and that is developing recommended plants for daycare centers. They've developed one for the state, but as you know, the valley is very different. And when I looked over that list, I realized a lot of those plants we couldn't get here, and they're not really native to our area or not readily available. And so I asked different partners that were plant experts, our nursery gardeners and other plant experts to come together, and they helped us craft a child-friendly plant list for the valley that's being worked on by the state. And I'm hoping any day it will be released so that we can provide that to our daycare providers as well. And there's also webinars on nature play, getting kids to play outdoors. Another initiative is Ole Texas is for the daycares and preschools. Green schoolyards is for K through 12, and it's enhancing outdoor spaces on campuses as a way to increase access to nature communities without parks. So turning, and you've seen some of this like in Edinburg, is other school districts where they're turning school grounds into parks after school hours. They also do things like create outdoor classrooms, encourage free nature play during the school day, loose parts, and again, gardens, and providing gardens on school campuses. As I mentioned, recess is a big issue, and they've been working at the state level over the last couple of years, including some of our partners down here in Brownsville and across the valley, of putting in. Oh, hold on just a second. Roy, the music's a little loud for me. Okay, I'm sorry. If you guys don't know, my husband's Roy Rodriguez, who works at Benson State Park, and he's trying to cook a Valentine's Day dinner for me tonight. He just has his music loud. So anyway, so the recess policy, so there's actually been groups down here that have been really proactive, and before COVID hit, they were trying to get through legislation to increase recess, outdoor recess time to 1 hour in the school days. If you aren't aware, like schools like my kid's school, they get maybe 15 minutes of outdoor time a day if the weather is perfect. If it gets too hot, or if it's too cold, or if it's raining, or whatever, the kids get pulled from recess, and it's become a problem because it's pulled really frequently, and so our kids are more and more stressed out because they're not getting that mental break during the day. They're in the classroom, they're in learning sessions all day, and so we're seeing this. A lot of parents across the valley have been complaining. A lot of groups are starting to bring that up as a real issue, but it is something that's being discussed, and unfortunately the governor, it got through everybody, but the governor decided to nix that policy, and so we're seeing if it will happen again, and you make it work its way up again, but definitely looking at recess is something that we're very interested in. So just as I mentioned, Ole, Texas, it's about, these are just some of the projects we're here working on. We do have a nature site. Quita Mazatlan has become the first Ole site in the Rio Grande Valley. We have another site that's not an Ole site, but it's an eco site, which is out of the National Wildlife Federation, and that's over in Harlingen, and it's very much similar principles. Ole, again, has started a statewide initiative to integrate healthy outdoor learning spaces into early childhood and education programs. They are looking at our children who are becoming obese at a very young age, and it starts in that early childhood stage. Right now, we have 1.1 million kids in early child care centers throughout the state of Texas as of 2020, and 30% of our kids that are ages 2 to 4 are overweight or obese. It only started with 5 cities, pilot cities, but it is working its way. And one of the big things with Ole, it's a very formal process that can be pretty costly for a daycare center, because the way it's designed is that a daycare would contract out with the certified Ole designer, and then get a design, and then a certified Ole contractor who would design the playground. And then, and of course, if you're going through a process like that, it can be very expensive. Now, one thing is that you can get certified in Ole, and if you're a master naturalist, you can get certified. So if you have a landscape background, you're very familiar with native plants and landscaping, you're a Texas Master Naturalist, a Texas Master Gardener, you can go through the Texas Tech course, and they do have a scholarship program. I did it, and myself and Hannah, as far as I know, are the only two. I'm sorry, Hannah Marble with FAR, she's an urban ecologist of FAR, and myself are the only 2 certified Ole designers. Now, I'm not an architect, I can't really help somebody build, but I can go through the process, the workshop process of designing a landscape. And so if that's something you as a master naturalist are interested in, these are some of the things that you would walk them through. And these are the best practices for Ole. And so if you're at all familiar with daycare settings, if you put your kids through daycares and maybe have, worked with them, These are the things that they're encouraging to put in their spaces, and it doesn't matter what size they are. It can be small, it can be large, but these are the best practices, which is 10 or more play learning settings. So you can think of like a sand pit, a playhouse, some kind of playground structure, formal or informal. You know, some people put like a little table, but just different things that they can, vignettes that they can play in. Looping curvy primary pathway, that's one of the most important things, is the looping pathway. A multi-purpose lawn. Having different textures is really important for the little ones. Shady settings other than trees, natural loose materials, designed vegetable gardens, wheel toys, portable play equipment, support for gross motor activities, sufficient trees, shrubs, vines, ornamental grasses, and enclosed outdoor storage and classroom spaces. If you look at them on paper, they don't seem very difficult. That's one of the discussions going on right now, is that there may be daycare centers that want to and actually have the ability to put these in, but they really wouldn't be able to go through a certified OLE designer, or maybe they could do them step by step. And so we're working with the ECHO program to actually do plans for a design garden as well as plans for the elements. So if they want to build a playhouse, or if they want to put in a water feature or a little garden, it's going to have all of that. And so through the National Wildlife Federation's ECHO program, they can put these in. So they may not get to be a certified OLE program yet, but we're hoping that at some point, if they put in all the elements, they can become that. But that's something that's in process. But again, if it's something that you're interested in, if you have a background in this and are interested in it, it's something you can do. As I mentioned, the green schoolyards. Green schoolyards, again, it's this taking a schoolyard and turning it into a park, and also adding in these natural elements for exploration, play, and outdoor learning. So again, outdoor classrooms, native gardens, stormwater capture, traditional playground equipment, untraditional playground equipment, nature play areas, vegetable gardens, trails, trees, water features, and more. And there's great examples of this all over the country. Denver in particular has this initiative. Dallas, I believe, has an initiative as well. A couple other cities. In the Rio Grande Valley, I know schools like Edinburg, or districts like Edinburg, do have some school parks, but I don't think they put in all these elements. But we do have PSJA that is working on putting habitat into a lot of their school settings. I don't know if they're becoming school parks, but they're putting a lot of these elements in for their students. And why green schoolyards? Because they provide many benefits for kids. Proven benefits for kids, from enhancing academic achievement to promoting health and wellness. And you can see all of these different things that having green schoolyards provides. So from, community with family engagement and touching into mental health, health and wellness. You have social emotional learning, which is really important for our children, beneficial play, helping with academic performance in their learning area, environmental literacy, environment, helping with wildlife and habitat, and reducing urban heat island reduction. So it touches on many different things. And I did mention the importance of recess. According to the CDC, recess is important for all students through 12th grade. Just a personal story, my son is in 5th grade. They've missed a lot of recess this year. There's been a lot of complaining on my end at all levels of our school district. And I've been told that when they get to middle school, there's no more recess, that middle school students and high school students don't get recess. And so that's something of a travesty for a son like mine, and even my daughter, who really need that. They do well in school, but they do need that break. And a lot of children need that break. They need to get off that excess energy. And I think a lot of teachers are struggling to control their kids more because of that. And if you guys are teachers, you know much more than I do. But and there's a lot of different, even the American Pediatric Association have spoken out on recess. A lot of different organizations have. What they say the benefits of recess include increasing their level of physical activity, which is problematic for over their lifetime because they're not getting as much as we used to. Improving memory, attention, and concentration, helping the kids stay on task in the classroom. It reduces disruptive behavior in the classroom. If you could think about all the kids that are on ADHD medicine and maybe increasing outdoor playtime and time to de-stress would help decrease some of that behavioral issues, improving their social emotional development, and learning how to share and negotiate. There is a great program that's out of Texas, TCU, and it's called the Link Project. They're doing lots of research on it and studies. What they've done is they've taken 15, they take 4 15-minute breaks throughout the day. The teachers learn how to transition the kids quietly outside, let them run around. Then they bring them back indoors, do some work, and they have 4 of these breaks, and they're finding that it's really improving children's health. There's also another study that has just recently been completed. Right now it's in peer review, and they're finding that there is an immense difference between the kids who are that have recess during the school day for the stress level and those that don't. But the kids without recess are much more stressed than their counterparts that do have recess. And so again, this is something that's really important. And there is a webinar on this. So here in the Valley, one of the things that we did when I first started back in March was we looked at all these different, we did a survey of parents, and we had about 150 parents, and then representing about 500 people or 500 kids throughout the Valley, and talked about some of their issues. And so because of that, and all the research out there, these are the strategies that we're exploring here in the Valley. And just to give you an idea, walkability, infrastructure and park design, outdoor learning, nature smart gear library, health and nature programming. One of the strategies, and that's why I'm talking to you here today, that we've actually focused on was Nature Smart Gear Library. I felt it was kind of low-hanging fruit. It's something that's being done around the country where they are developing outdoor gear libraries, seed lending libraries, nature backpacks for libraries where right now if you go to a nature site like a state park like Benson or Estero, or if you go to Edinburg Birding Center, we all have backpacks that the kids can use on site, but you don't get to take them anywhere. Can't take them home. Well, with the backpack lending program at a library, the kids rent them like books for 2 weeks. And so it's something that we started developing here along with the seed library. And so that, well, I'm skipping ahead of myself, but the idea behind these Nature Smart libraries is that we use public libraries as venues to connect children to nature. And so we're getting patrons people who use the libraries who may not use our sites and vice versa, and library patrons and park visitors, including families, children, and youth. So we're getting those 2 audience groups. It helps us reach low-income families through a no neighborhood source, right? Their local library. It maximizes the library's facilities and resources with partnerships. So we're bringing them together. It increases regular access to nature for children, young adults, and families. It strengthens stewardship and the expansion of libraries. And it hopefully, one of the other things is increasing green spaces and adjacent parks and gardens. And so we started developing these connections and this partnership and developing these program ideas. And one of ours got funded. And that program is one of the big reasons I'm talking to you guys here today is the Library Explorer Adventure Pack. We had 8 libraries who said, yes, I want to be part of this Nature Smart Library. And we developed 2 programs. One is the Seed Library, which we don't have funding for yet, but we do have funding for, and we've got fully funded for the Library Explorer Adventure Pack. It was funded by Driscoll, who provided $10,000 to develop 43 backpacks that are full of books and pamphlets and gear, binoculars, and just items for families to take for a 2-week rental period, and they can take it anywhere. But the other cool thing is that Javier de Leon, who is the chapter sponsor, also the State Park for Estero, has worked it out for us that anybody who shows up with the backpack gets free entry for 2 adults are 2 people, 12 and older, plus kids. So a family of 4, basically you can go into a state park for free with a backpack during that 2-week period. And they can visit Benson, Estero, Llano Grande, or Resaca de la Palma, the 3 state parks where the libraries are located at. And so that's very exciting. So we're very excited about this program. And just to tell you a little bit more about it, as I mentioned, it's 8 libraries in Hidalgo and Cameron County. I reached out to everybody, but those are the ones who replied. We have 43 backpacks, 4 to 6 backpacks per library. We have 10 different nature themes. They're not all the same. There's monthly programs and speaker events. So Driscoll not only is providing us with the funding to fully support the program, but also providing speakers. They're going to be they have Driscoll doctors that fly in every month for seeing patients here. They're going to use them to actually do presentations at the different libraries across the valley. And then we're also reaching out to partners like you guys to provide other programs and events at the 8 different libraries throughout the various communities. In addition, as I mentioned, we have the state park voucher, and then we're planning monthly, quarterly, and social media campaigns around the backpack program. So this is an example of this is not a brand new idea. I borrow ideas from all over the country, and this is one of them. So this is our nature backpack example. Here, again, they can be thematic, and ours are thematic: birding, night sky, tracks, coastal wildlife, etc. They have the contents include ID guides, nature books, activity guides and lessons, journals, binoculars, plant presses, bug collectors, colored pens and pencils, park passes. Right now, I'm getting equipment in, and I'm also working on making some of the items that we can put in the booklets. I'm working on creating that, but I'm also reaching out to partners. I believe one of the partners from your chapter is going to provide some night sky literature, which is fantastic. If anybody else has resources that we can put in the backpack, please reach out to me, because I'm working on collecting that as of now. The backpacks do launch pretty soon, a couple of weeks. As I mentioned, there are 8 libraries, and these are the 8. So we'll go from I guess west to east. Dustin Michael Sikula Memorial Library in Edinburg, Far Memorial Library in Far. Also the school district, Far San Juan Alamo ISD Library. We're still working out exactly how that's going to work, but they're a partner. Donna Public Library, the Mayor Joe Sanchez Public Library in Westaco, the Dr. Garcia Memorial Library in Mercedes, Brownsville Public Library in Southmost, and Port Isabel Public Library where you're at. So there are, for your chapter, we have 4 libraries that are pretty close. So hopefully you can help partner with those libraries. And I mentioned we have 10 different themes. Not everybody, the libraries picked which themes they want. One of the ones that I think is the coolest, we only have 1 library who picked, which is the outdoor skill building. But this is just the beginning. We'll see what happens after this. Other libraries want to develop the same. One of the things I'm going to do is create a list so everybody knows what they can put in their own backpacks. But for this one, we have South Texas Wildlife Tracks and Scat, Birds and Birding, Butterflies and Insects, Fish and Fishing, Beach Combing and Coastal Critters, Stargazing Night Critters, Native Plants and Botany, Rocks and Fossils, Gardening, Cooking with Plants, and Outdoor Skill Building. Those are the themes that the libraries all together, this is what they decided they liked. And then rules, it's like borrowing a book. It's free with a library card, so these are free to loan out. It's a 2-week rental, renewable if nobody else is waiting. What we want is for people to be waiting, of course. There'll be fines if people lose, if the families lose their stuff, there's going to be fines. Everybody has to take care of what's in the backpack. And there's, and we are going to give some funding for replacement, but there'll be fines for that. The libraries are going to be taking them in, checking them in, make sure everything's returned. And of course, we're going to include surveys and information in Spanish and English. And again, state park vouchers for the 3 RGV state parks down here in the valley. The launches are coming up very soon. So on March 3rd is when we're going to have the big media announcement. Driscoll Library is hosting that. It's going to be at the Farr Library. And then we are going to have the launches during spring break week. These are all the times that there are going to be 2-hour nature events. And so one of the things that we would love is if any of you are available and actually can have a tabling event for the chapter or even for any activities geared towards families. This is a family backpack. It's not for little kids. We're trying to gear it for like ages I don't know, like fifth and sixth grade. So about you're looking about like 10 to 12 and up, but we're gonna have activities for the little ones as well as for the older ones, for the teens. So it's a family backpack. And so anyway, we're asking different organizations, and of course, Master Naturalists, we'd love for you guys to be there at the different libraries, whichever ones you're available at, to do activities for the launch for the Nature Day, because we want families to come in, get to learn all the different places they can go and be healthy and be active, and then have a chance to rent the backpacks during spring break week. And then, as I mentioned, how can you help? There is one other thing. You guys are a little far, so I don't blame you if you don't help with this, but I've got boxes and boxes being delivered every day with all the books and equipment that I've got to go through. And I'm most likely going to need help putting all the backpacks together. So I'm going to be asking for help on, I believe it's the 4th of March. It's a Saturday. And then, of course, the spring break launch, tabling activities. So if anybody is available or interested, we could certainly use you. And if you are an expert in a program or can speak on a topic for families, we're looking for monthly speakers for the different libraries or program leaders for a program. So if that's something that you're interested, like dark skies, I want to do a program on skies at the libraries. We're trying to arrange all that as well. And then I saw the note about flyers. Yes, we're working on that right now. So that's a library program. One more thing. So I had mentioned to you about all the different strategies. We were trying to find a strategy that our partners across the valley wanted to do. The nature library is kind of a strategy that we can actually get going right away with some of our partners, our library partners and our nature centers. Well, now we've, after several meetings, our area has decided on creating a children's outdoor bill of rights for our different cities. And so that is the regional strategy for the Rio Grande Valley. And what that means is that the cities are learning, or our partners in the cities. And of course, Master Naturalists, we'd love for you guys to be involved. And Susan, I'm seeing your notes. I promise I'll get to the questions. I guess once I get through. But so keep writing questions, guys. I'll answer them right after the presentation. But so each city is learning about the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights, each organizations, and we love the Master Naturalists to be involved. And this is basically strategies that communities, it's a community, again, we work as collaborators. So it's not just any one entity, but a collaborative of multiple entities, nonprofits, concerned citizens, government agencies, etc., that work together on these issues. And this one is developing a list of outdoor experiences that every child has a right to experience. It's a public-facing symbol of the city's overarching goals. Or for the state, we actually have state co-boards as well that we have for children's outdoor experiences. We use it as a messaging tool that raises awareness of the importance of children's connection to nature. And it can also be done as a mayoral proclamation, a city council resolution, a value statement, or even a framework of a program. And so just as an example, there are many different co-boards out there. There are state co-boards, there are city co-boards, there's some that aren't even called Children Outdoor Bill of Rights, but I think in Utah it's Every Kid Outdoors. Some of them run them as programs, some of them, again, they've run through the government, through their mayor, and they've made a proclamation, but they've said these are what our children have a right to. And so, for example, in Salt Lake City in Utah, they came up with the Bill of Rights. For them, the values that were important for their children to have access to, right? To be able to catch a bug, for them, follow a foothold trail or splash in a stream or play in the snow. Now, those are things that we're probably not going to have our kids do in the valley. We don't really get snow, but there are other things that we want to make sure that our children get to experience in childhood. And so that's what our communities are working towards. Is developing one for each of the cities. So Brownsville is already on it. They have a fantastic collaborative. They are leading the way. They've already started like writing things. So I'm expecting Brownsville to have something done pretty quickly, but they have an existing collaborative. I know Quinta Mazatlan, McAllen's going to take a lead for theirs. FAR is already, into it. And so many of these cities that have been attending, or these organizations working within these cities, are looking at going through this process. And we're at the beginning stages, so we would love to have any of you interested, involved as well. And as you can see, it is a collaborative movement. It's working with, when you get even from getting started all the way through activation, working with, sorry, give me a second, please. Oh, sorry about that. Families, youth committees, grassroots organizations, elected officials, just going through the gamut of collaborating with lots of different groups through the process. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my voice here very soon. Hold on. So, I'm almost over, guys. I'm sorry about that. So again, Texas Solar Nature offers webinars about a lot of different topics, and so does the CCN. These are the Health and Nature Collaborative. So I'm here in the Valley, and then of course my partner in Houston, Robin, and in Dallas is Jenny. And you can, get in, the organizations getting involved, and TMN, I believe, is already involved at the state level. They're a state partner. But you can be involved with our regional collaborative. We do have meetings, and we have our next meeting that's going to be scheduled Wednesday, March 28th. It's at Benson State Park from 9 to 12. If any of you are interested, we've had 2 over in your area, over in Brownsville and at Port Isabel, and now we're coming back to Hidalgo. And so we'll be continuing to work on this Children Outdoor Bill of Rights, and as well as other issues. You can find information about Texas Solar Nature on pretty much all the social media channels. And we have a regional social media channels, but I'm not very good at posting right now. But if there's anything you want me to share, please let me know. And that's it. This is my contact information. Those are my little Rugrats, me and Roy's baby boy and girl, who my son's really into fishing. But that's all I have. And then I did see there were questions in the chat. I think I might have to stop sharing. Is that okay if I stop sharing?
Yeah, that's fine. Or I can read you the question.
Okay, well, sure. If you can read, that's fine too.
Do you have a flyer for the spring break launch date?
Yes, I actually worked on one, but we've been working with Esperanza to design the logo, and she's now designing the banners and the flyers. So I'm hoping to have that by the end of the week. Esperanza is one of our local graphic designers here.
Okay.
So we should have, and I will be sending that out as soon as it's done.
Okay. The next statement is that STEC has a spring break camp. Great place to share this information, and it's perfect time.
Oh, great. If you have a contact to share with me, please share it my way. I'd be happy to let them know what's happening.
I love knowing about this information. I can see a great benefit for our schools.
Okay. Well, thank you. I hope so. I mean, the whole idea is to work together to get our kids outside. So hopefully we're doing that slowly but surely.
This is Betsy. I have 2 questions. I don't know if it showed up in the chat, but you mentioned on the 4th of March, filling backpacks, and you talked about it being a little far away, but where is that? Because we might want to come help regardless.
So I live here in FAR, and I'm gonna see if I can work with our FAR Parks and Rec, which is nearby, if they can help me. I just have about, I swear it's like 40 boxes of books and packages. It's a lot. So I'm hoping that they can help me. They have a room. That's my plan right now, but as soon as I lock that down, I'll share that information out. But tentatively, that's what I'm looking at here in FAR. Um, and if I can't, I'm sure I can find another partner. It's just easier to haul it here than anywhere else.
Sure. And so you'll let us know where that location might be so we can come help you with.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Because I have so not only is it sorting, because it's sorting. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it or how much I'll do ahead of time. Unfortunately, because I got hit with COVID, I was going to start working on everything
Mhm.
this week, and I don't want to touch anything.
Yeah.
Um, but we've got stickers to put on the backpacks with the labels, and then to sort all the items, but also to label everything. So it's, yeah, I could definitely use the help if you're interested.
Okay. I have two other questions. First, if we have a park that's not necessarily a state park who might want to participate, to put something in the backpack, we just ask that park. So like Laguna Atacosa, which is here in our area, which is not a state park, but they might want to participate at Port Isabel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Whether they want to be at the launch or if they have items they want to put in, specifically a theme backpack, because we have themes or specifically backpacks for that center, we can do all of it. It just has to be relevant and, age appropriate, but which is a family age group. Um, Yes, absolutely. So if I'm reaching out to partners, but I tend to do it in like massive groups, I need to start like kind of putting a little pressure individually. But if you already have an in, please do. I'd appreciate it greatly.
Okay, and then the last question I have, you mentioned the two libraries, Brownsville and Port Isabel Library, both on the 15th.
Yes.
And if we wanted to have a table, we could just contact you and,
Yes, actually, I have. Hold on. I might be able to share it in the link. I have a registration form that I sent out to everybody. Let me see if I can share the link to it. So yes, if you are interested in signing up, you can pick which ones you're interested in and just fill out the information. And right now I think most places have two. Okay, let me copy this link in the chat. So if any of you are interested, that should be the link to the form. Did it go through? Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jimmy. That's the link. So if you're interested, you can fill it out there, and then I'm collecting it, and then we'll send out an email just confirming everybody's participation.
Well,
Uh,
Marissa,
yes,
thank you so much for presenting to us. I hope you feel better.
thank
Uh,
you.
Thank Roy for letting you share your presentation with us on tonight. Hopefully his cooking is worth it.
Yeah, he's outside, so we can do it. We can eat together outside. But
And
thank you.
and we'll definitely be in touch and have as many of our partners that we volunteer at or having our own table there as well to sort of help make sure this is a success.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for the opportunity, and feel free to reach out anytime.